All right, guys, say hi to Archie. Hey, baby. One of my little sphinx, and okay, she's licking. I decided to make a quick video for you guys because I received so many messages. And as you can see, I'm taking one of the Frankies and I'm gonna quote, well, not quote unquote, I'm gonna upgrade it. The guitar, as a bass guitar, is actually really impressive, even though it's made in Mexico. The materials are great, the craftsmanship is great, and that's why they outsourced it to Mexico to begin with, because it's not actually an easy relic job, and it takes time. And obviously labor is cheaper down there. And so that way they managed to keep the guitar at $2,000 and not at $3,500. But the hardware it comes with is absolutely pathetic. It's all Korean stuff, and nothing against it. It's just that I don't like it. I can tell, being a little bit more of an advanced player, that it's just it doesn't feel good, you know. So, but that being said, and I shared this in my group, the neck I got on mine. Let me put in the light here. As you can see, I got really lucky. I have an incredible, look at this. I mean, you can, this is a really good piece of maple, man. Look at that. This is really good stuff, but this could have, and this ain't a young piece of wood either. So my other Frankie that I reviewed wasn't anything like this. But this is an incredibly good piece of wood. Yeah, it's just a really good piece of wood. The first thing I did was polish the frets a little bit, and then I rounded them. So, and it's 12 to 16 radius, which is really impressive. So the specs on it are incredible. The materials are great. Everything is awesome except for the hardware. Excuse me, let me zoom. And so the first thing I did, I ordered a Floyd Rose original, which is going to arrive tomorrow. I ordered a plate that I slightly oxidized here so that we get rid of that made in Mexico plate. And not that I have a problem with it saying made in Mexico, it's just I like it a little bit. I want to personalize the guitar a little bit, and I think Eddie would have approved because they're so generic otherwise. And this is a great bass model if you kind of do something with it, I think. And I'm also going to make this pickup actually, when I'm done with everything, I'm going to put an actual pickup in here and route it so that we can actually use it and put a switch in there. So, and then when it's all being assembled, we're going to, of course, oil it, wax it, because the wood is very dry from down there and probably sitting around too during COVID. Hey, get out of there. But the first thing I wanted to do is get rid of that generic headstock. And look what I did. I just finished painting the white on it, and now I'm starting the stripes. As you can tell, it dried super nicely, and we have painter's tape all over there. And what you want to do, if you want to personalize it a little bit, the first way is to get rid of that generic EVH logo. And in my case, I decided a great idea would be to look at him chewing on that. Hey, man, you see the Sphinx guy? Look at that. Look at it. You have no hair. You don't count. I figured, hey, how cool would it be if this thing had a matching headstock? So we're going to change all the hardware to original Floyd from Germany, the Marzia strap, already polished and rounded the frets. And then I realized, you know what? If I match the headstock, that could actually look really cool and personalize it a little bit. So what I did was take 60 sandpaper, 60 grain, and slightly sanded it down a little bit. Then I went to 120 to 40, all the way to 400 to make it super smooth. And you can see how beautiful it's drying and looking very organic. And now I'm gonna cut tape and get those stripes in, and then we're gonna do the red coat. And hopefully, it's a little passionate video. Hopefully this gives you some ideas to personalize this guitar. It's an incredible guitar. It's really cool, and no two are alike because it is a handmade relic. It's a hand relic that they relic by hand, which is really cool. So the outsourcing to Mexico makes sense, but we just simply cannot have any Korean parts on such a great guitar. And the pickup is awesome too. Listen, the original Wolfie is great freaking pickup. So we're gonna do what I think Ed would have approved, and we're gonna, take this as a blank canvas and just kind of do our own little thing with it. So see you when the red here is applied. All right, so I'll put this under the light here, and if you can see right there, that's a good little cool pattern. I purposely made it uneven a little bit, just to give it a organic flair like this has. And I think that's gonna look really cool. Make sure you allocate enough space for the black. So whatever is white here now, you're gonna see is gonna be red now. And the stripes should be white. And then the black you wanna do at the end, because that obviously will apply over anything. So let's go paint some red. All right, there you have it. Look at that. Just a beautiful coat of red. And we're gonna let it dry. Just make sure, of course, you cover it up really good in the front there. Make sure that it's completely all red. Sorry for the zoom there. And yeah, and then let it dry. Sorry for that truck noise. And you can kind of see where the bands are underneath. Once this dries, we'll rip them out. We'll have the white exposed, and then we add some black stripes and go from there. But again, just a simple way to personalize it a little bit. I'm doing this in real time, so it'll be interesting to see how the matching headstock looks on this. But anything just to get a little bit away from that genericness. All right, we got notified that this is being shipped. Should be here tomorrow. This is what you want, the original Floyd Rose that's made out of steel and dirt, not aluminum and cheap plastic mixed together in Korea. It's a shame because it's such a great guitar. I mean, but I get it. They're trying to keep costs down. But it will cost you. It's going to cost you $240 to get a... I mean, it's not just the Floyd you need. You need all the other parts to be good too, especially the nut. Because if you have a good Floyd, but then the nut is aluminum, that's actually what gives it the sound right here. So, and if you go to the specs, we're going to striped on EVH gear. And if you click on that, and then on the specs here, yeah, I mean, it's just terrible. It's all... too good of a guitar to have that cheap stuff on there. There you go. You need an R3. Make sure you get an R3. Very important, because a lot of people will make a mistake and get an R2, which is just as common. So, yep. But yeah, we need the real deal on that, man. There's no way we want to go with that cheap stuff. All right, so the red is almost dry here. We'll give it another couple hours, but looking really good. And as I mentioned before, when this is all set up, well, actually, before we put the neck back on, we're going to be really oiling this and waxing it. It is kind of a little bit too raw, and that's not necessarily good. If you look at the Stealth USA, which has an incredible neck. So if you this is also, but you can see, let me see if I can get this in zoom. So you see that is kind of a naked neck as well, but it does have a little bit of an oil finish too, a wax finish, and you want that because it'll still give you that raw feeling, but it'll protect the wood, and it'll actually make it more, it'll let it breathe a little bit more and at the same time protect it. So bee wax is really phenomenal for that kind of stuff. You can just tell the density of this neck is incredible. I'll try to zoom. The video just doesn't do it justice, but it's an absolutely incredible neck. And so you can tell it has a little bit of a protection on it. So you do, I noticed that this is rather very, very raw. So you do want to put some kind of thing on there. And bee wax is a great thing to do. And I'll show you which one I use. But we're not there quite yet. We still gotta let this dry and then get the black stripes in. So yeah, it's coming along well. Just excited to, again, just personalize it a little bit. And this is a great way to do it. So I wanted to show you, as I'm waiting for this to dry, a little bit more. But I rounded the frets ever so slightly. It looks really good. Don't do this if you don't know what you're doing. Bring it to a luthier. He will charge you $100 to do this. But now they're just absolutely perfect. Look at that, and the polish on them. So just Now the wood, you can just tell how dry it is. It is just way too dry. It feels really bad. This thing is aching for oiling. Obviously the fretboard is glued on, so we're gonna oil the hell out of that and wax, but just wanted to show you how nice the frets can be on this thing. So this is now really becoming an American guitar, I guess. An American guitar. All right, we're taking some stripes off here, and it's actually looking really good. Really digging how this is coming along. Remember, the black is still missing, so we still have quite a bit of ways to go, but this is looking really cool. This is just, look at that. I mean, this is just dope. It's gonna be really cool. So yeah, let's see where we end up. Another step forward. Tomorrow we do the black. So I removed all the tapes that covered the white, and looks pale without the black. The black is actually what makes the whole difference, but I'm really, really happy with the way it's coming along. Remember, these things are on purpose, these little imperfections, just like you have here, you know, on the guitar. So I kind of cut it on purpose like that, and I'm really starting to dig it. I think it's going to be really cool. And it's slowly but surely starting to feel like a personalized Frankie, which is what all of them should be, in my opinion, whereas everybody else is trying to kind of make him to what Eddie's was. So, all right, I'm gonna let it rest here, and then tomorrow we do the black. But I think it's coming along pretty good. And tomorrow we're getting the Floyd and some other hardware. So great progress. As you can see with the black, what you want to do, if you're gonna go something like the stripe route, like I'm doing, you want to now kind of pick spots where underneath you're gonna see little triangles left, which kind of makes it look really cool. So you kind of get an effect like this, which is really nice. So I'm trying to find, and you're not going to be able to do it all at once. You're going to have to do, for example, these three and then let it dry a little bit so you can kind of do an offset after the fact, because this will cover it. You could technically cut this out, but you don't want to get into that because you might potentially have a bleed through from the paint. And what's great about this painter's tape is that underneath you can kind of see where your lines are going. So this will really help. All right, so with the black, it's starting to look really cool. Now I'm actually really starting to dig it. You can see the black really helps. And once these two are removed, then we're gonna go one kind of upside down across, and we should be home free. All right, while we wait for the last strip to clear, or dry, I should say, looks like the Floyd has arrived. And sure enough, there it is. So again, this is the one you want. Be careful not to get, oh, that's not good. It just dropped. So luckily, this is made out of steel. There you go. This is what you want, and you want to make sure it's an R3. Also made in Germany, not Korea. And this is the R3 indeed. So this is what we want. This is what the Frankie deserves. Excuse my little wobbly here. And again, you see this is really nicely attached. Got the arm, even the arm is better quality. I mean, pretty much the whole damn thing is just, again, might want to go brass on this. You could have gone with the 1984, but again, I didn't want to do that. I actually prefer the black. I don't, you know, I think on the Frankie looks better that way, but of course that's subjective. What's not subjective is putting a real Floyd on it and not, oh, it's already screwed in. It's cool. All right, so we probably have the nut there. And here's your studs. So, all right, very, very nice progress. Let's start putting, oh, there you go, underneath is, there you go. This is what we want. So, yeah, we're gonna be in good shape. So this is really cool what's happening here. You can tell surgery is ongoing. And now we're gonna start taking out this kind of cheap aluminum. You can also tell just the stud compared to the, or the retrainer, I should say. Retainer. Goodness, I'm still waking up. You can tell the coffee is strong. So again, just when you see real steel versus kind of that garbage I took off, which is some kind of aluminum blend. I can't even figure out what they put on there. But again, I know I sound like a broken record, but I can't stress it enough. It is an incredible guitar, especially if you do some neck work to it. And, you know, I feel like what we're doing is actually the spirit of what this guitar is about. So now we're going to take everything off and start putting on the real Floyd. On the right is the stud I took out, and on the left is the original Floyd. And you can also tell, and do not think for 1 second this doesn't make a difference. You see how even the one on the right is? Let me show you. I've seen this many times before when I did these. Look at that. I mean, it's one angle on the left and a different angle on the right because this is generically cut out. So this is going to go straight in the trash. Now, if you look on these, which are precision matched with the Floyd that come in with the box, look at that. Dead even on all sides. So for you guys who are maybe a little bit newer to all of this does make a difference. It is like in an airplane. One part by itself might not make a big difference, but when you add all these things up, they will translate into sustain, tone, and more importantly, intonation. Look at that gorgeous and beautiful fit. And just doing this, I can tell just how much better it feels. The matched arm is flawless, even a little bit oiled. And in the back here, I might put a third string on. Again, don't do what Eddie had. Do your own thing depending on the tension you like. I'm going to screw this in a little bit more just to have a little bit more tension. There's a difference between having this more in 2 springs or 3 springs and having this further out. So it all depends. If you have 3 strings and you have it further out, that means you're going to have a lighter, you have a higher pullback, but you're going to have a lighter press down, which is going to be more gradual because obviously more springs are going to be more evenly, carry the load more evenly distributed. Whereas with 2 springs, you have a little bit of a snappier clap back, which a lot of people like. So we'll see where this takes us. I don't like those screws too far out, but we'll see where it goes once we start putting the neck back in. On to the nut now. Look how cool that came out. I mean, that is just super cool. And remember, to mimic the body, I purposely did a little bleed through. That's all on purpose. And over time, it will only look better. So it's just great. Now on the white ones, on the solid ones, you want a pretty clear line because that's actually what gives it the effect against the red. But then the cross match, kind of like here, so you want it dirtied up. And it's also how the original was, if you care about that. But again, I'm trying to take a master's canvas and personalize it. I think this just looks really cool. All right, let's take the tape off. The Floyd is on and get to the nut. So here's with all the tape off. Again, I'm about to take this nut out, and you can just tell how bad the material is on it. But just look at that, how nice this came out. And what you want to do, if you do something like that, I mean, look at that. That looks like a store print on. What you want to do is you want to take a little bit of sandpaper, in this case 400 grain. This is 400. This is so soft you can use it as toilet paper. And what we're going to do now is just ever so slightly go on the side of the edges just to make that transition absolutely flawless. You'll see here in about 90 seconds. And there you go. See, if you give it a little bit of a, I mean, look at that. Just absolutely gorgeous. And slowly this guitar, and you can do a little bit better there too. I haven't gotten to that yet. But again, the guitar doesn't need to be perfect. You just want it to be perfectly imperfect. And what's so great about it is now for the first time, this is starting to actually feel like mine. You know, even though this is kind of like a pre-existing kit, if you will, but it's starting to feel, it's looking really, really, really cool. I dig it. So here we are now ready to put, if you look at the original, it will also say here, excuse me, it will also say made in Germany. And you can just tell the difference in material right off the bat. So the one I just took off, the aluminum one, just says BR3, so you know that it is a 3-knot. You can also tell the way the holes are drilled. They're really generic here, whereas here they're actually washed out properly. So again, the sum of all parts is what's going to make the difference here. And of course, since it is an R, of course we want that the other way around. Since it is an R3, it fits absolutely flawless. And there you have it. Absolute perfect fit. Beautiful, gorgeous. And now, I think we're getting close. So, now, if you can tell, you can kind of see how this is finished. See how this is shiny? Has oil that was put into the wood. And this is really raw. And again, just look at the neck on this thing. It's just, this is actually what made me decide to keep it, believe it or not, and do what I'm doing right now. Rather than build one from the ground up, I was like, you know, this is such a good canvas, I'll take it. So what we're gonna do is, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna oil this, because this is dry, but it's not a good relic dry, make no mistake. This is again where they had to cut some corners in order to save some cost, because otherwise, again, you might as well just do it in Corona and charge $39.99 for it. So you really need to nourish this wood a little bit. It's still going to retain that same character, but the first thing we're going to do, since the whole thing is basically exposed, is we're going to take F1 oil. This is actually real good quality oil, and we're going to put that all over here and then rub it in with a microfiber cloth. Because what's so great about a microfiber is that, well, number one, you're not going to scratch the wood, but number two, it's going to retain the wetness, the moisture of it, and that way you can literally rub throughout the whole thing. Then we're going to turn it around and do the same thing here, and then we're going to let it rest for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we're going to beeswax it, which is kind of going to give you this kind of a seal. It's not really a seal, but it will give you protection. It will also protect the wood way longer, because if you're like me and you play your guitars live, and I play all of my guitars live, then weather will at some point make a difference, and this is just way too exposed. By the way, the real Frankie was not quite like this. At some point it was sealed, just so you know, and I'm sure a lot of you do know. You can see the quarter stone right there, which is beautiful. So an absolute gorgeous piece of wood. And yeah, so what we're gonna do is just open this, and literally I'll show you once I have droplets all over it. We'll probably do about 5 frets at a time and go from there. Notice also how I haven't put any of the hardware back here. Why? Because on the fender neck, they're actually leveled. So when you put it down, you see it doesn't budge. It's much easier to work on, since this part is the same height as that. If you put the hardware in now, it's going to start being wobbly. So you want to kind of keep working on it that way. It's much easier. So we're literally going to take this right now, and you want to go about 5 frets at a time. Just put you know, 1, 2. Be generous. This thing is really dry. I mean, trust me, you cannot put enough of this stuff on there. I'm telling you, it is in dire need. And remember that this poor guitar ships in a box without a case. I mean, and you know my thoughts on that one, in my other review. And now we're, you know, I'm gonna go even more. So yeah, I can't believe this shipped a $2,000 guitar basically just in a piece of carton. And so I have about 6-7 drops per fret. I'm gonna work my way back now, and literally, oh my, I mean, I can, if wood could talk, it literally would scream thank you right now. And you don't have to press hard, just, and go over the frets too. I mean, if oil could scream, I'm telling you, it will be literally, I mean, yeah, just look at the difference.
See that? I mean, you can tell it's like a plant that literally is screaming for love. So, I'm gonna rub it a little bit more. Look at also the dirt you're taking out too. So, as you all know, the first few runs of these came with really dark, overdone, almost look fake, you know. And there you go, let's see that. Yeah, that will dry out and also protect it. I cannot tell you how good for the wood this is what we're doing right now. If I come a little bit closer, you can just tell it is just absorbing the hell out of it. All right, we'll do that on all the frets. All right, we're done with that now. And you can just tell just how the wood is just absorbing it and how much better and healthier that already looks. Let me zoom in for you, and there you go. You can tell the difference. And now look at the back, just how dry that is. So we're gonna, again, you don't want to give the plant too much water. You don't want to drown it, but in this case, you can be quite generous too. And also, let me show you the amount of dirt I got out too. Now, if this was sealed, you wouldn't get that dirt out because the dirt will be underneath. So I know why they did what they did, because this is going to sneak by most people and they're going to think, yeah, no, this is great, because they're selling 2 million of these and everybody is going to be happy just to have the generic version of it. So notice the little S pattern, which makes it easier for distribution. I'm still going to put some on here too. And most importantly, right here, well, it's going to be wet enough to get to the creases to the side. So that's very, very important. And then again, I'm going to work my way from the back here. Ever so, I mean, look, it absorbs it instantly. It is literally instant. And I can tell you too, that this is going to feel incredible. Oh my God, this is just, the immediate effect is just unbelievable. I wish you all could be here to see this in real time. I mean, this makes me happy because it's so good for the wood when it's exposed like that. But also for you who own Wolfgang USA Stealths, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because that guitar is actually, has exactly the neck, which has done to it what we're doing right now. And it just feels incredible. It feels so much better than the raw exposed wood. I mean, I'm gonna go slightly more one more time. Just ever so slightly, a little bit more. And I can literally feel it. I don't even have to look at it. I can just feel what it's doing to it, to the wood. Again, the headstock is sealed, but so look at that. I mean, it is all gone. Like when you go over it, it feels as raw as it did 45 seconds ago. It is completely dry and absorbed on the back. Look at that. Let me zoom in for you. I'm sorry, look at that. It is completely, you can't even see it's shiny. Look how absorbed it is. But yet, notice how much better it looks. You can tell. I mean, just look at this. If you love wood as much as I do, this is just pure happiness right here, especially when you have a neck like this. So I can just tell how raw it is. It's almost begging me for more. But but clearly it already feels better. You can just tell it's a little warmer. It functions a little bit as a brigade, and I could honestly put on another 3 coats, but I'm not going to, and the reason why is the bee wax. All right, guys, now we're getting to the best part, which we've been waiting for 3 days, and now you're gonna get your money's worth right here. Wood polishing wax. However, it's bee wax. You see a bee on there, and that's a little bit different than regular, wood wax. So that's very important for you to know. This right here is a wet dream for that wood right there. So as you can see, I didn't seal it properly. There was a crust on top, and I had to kind of get to the part underneath. Now notice I have a different towel under the neck because this is going to be a towel that, you're not going to be able to use for anything else once it gets dirty with the wax, unless you're going to be using it for something similar down the road. And also, I'm using an old shirt and not microfiber. Why? Compared to the oil, you don't want the microfiber on this because it'll make it sludgy. You want something where it doesn't really bleed through much. And that way it'll make your job much easier because wax can be messy. And now we're gonna just take a little piece. I use a plastic spoon, and we're just literally gonna... Plastic spoon is also, protects the neck if I accidentally press too hard not to scratch it. Again, if wood could talk, it would literally be screaming out of joy right now. Remember, your hands have oils too, and over time, it will absorb into this. So I'm just distributing it evenly, and then I'm gonna rub it in like crazy. All right. Let me show you what this is gonna do, because this is the best thing that's gonna happen to this all day. So what I like to do is I just kind of put it around my finger like that, so I have a very solid thing, kind of brigade here. And now you lift it a little bit, and you just... It's hard to describe. I can just tell by the way the wood is responding how easy it is, and that means that the wood is just incredibly dry. And again, I cannot stress it enough, it is not dry in a good way. This is a little bit drier than it should be, but again, that's the point of this whole journey, is we're gonna improve on this guitar. And I'm sorry if I'm a little bit out of frame. And so I'm gonna let it sit for a second. And quite frankly, I can't even remember now. I think you're gonna let it sit for about 45 minutes to an hour. Smells really good too, kind of like, lemony, honey. Look at that. Look at the dirt I'm taking out just doing that. All this fake stuff they put in. Again, I love the relic of it. Again, please don't be confused. I absolutely love this thing because of the canvas it provided me. But I hope this sparks some of you to do the same thing here that I'm doing, just to give this guitar the opportunity it deserves. And put this up here. Again, I can't stress enough how great of a guitar it is if you do a little bit of work to it. So notice how the headstock here, again, had all of that stuff on it that we're doing. And yes, the neck was supposed to be left raw, but not raw like this. And this is very important right here. The sides, they didn't finish. So we're gonna give it, just look at that. Look at that. It is absorbing it. And this is through that little oil finish they have on it, and it's still going through. And now what we're going to do, and you can tell, this is obviously a job where you're going to get your hands dirty, but what we're really doing is now we're going to start really pressing it in. And if I go over it like that, I can tell you, it absolutely screams of joy how good it feels. I literally now, just touching it like that, I can't wait to play it. It's starting to feel exactly like the Wolfgang Stealth USA. Which you'll also notice, it'll start showing the actual flame of the wood, if there is any, because I see a little bit here. I'm not sure if it shows on the camera. We will know here shortly. And let's see. Oh yeah, no, I can clearly see it now. Look at that. Look at that. You can actually see the flame of the wood now. And I bet you none of you would have even guessed this has it. Again, I've held about 50 of these between all kinds of shows and reviews, and this is by far the most superior neck I've seen on them. I'd love to hear some of your comments if yours are coming in this well too. I mean, just look at that neck on top. If you gave me this blank, and you know I have no reason to say this, but if you gave me this blank, I would actually think this could be on a custom shop or a high-end USA Wolfgang for $4,000 or whatever. But I mean, look at that. You can actually see the flame of the neck now. That, ladies and gentlemen, is bee wax. It is literally a shot of medicine right in the arm. So we're going to get it a little bit more rubbed in, and then we're going to leave it for a 40, well, no, it's really 15 to 20 minutes before you do another coat, but we're not going to do another one. So we're just going to do it right there. And now, because I don't want to go too much on the fretboard, I'm going to take what's left of this and just rub that in a little bit here too. And trust me, there's still a lot of wax on here because, as you know, wax doesn't go away easily. So I can literally just borrow a little bit from the back here, and I can just tell the reflection. I'm still getting wax out of it. Maybe touch a little bit here. And that's the great part about doing this with a leftover cloth or shirt rather than with the microfiber, because the microfiber will get way too fudgy. There you go, just borrowing a little bit more here. You cannot put enough of this stuff on there, I'm telling you. All right. And since the frets are here, I'm going to turn it around so it rests on the frets so that the fretboard is elevated. And just look at this. Let me lift that up again. Look at that. That is what you want. All right, we're going to take a 30-minute break, let this all sink in, and go from there. All right, guys, it's now about an hour later, and I mean, just look at this. I mean, just look at that. Go back 45 minutes in the video and look what that neck looked like then, and look at it now. This is just pure pornography. I mean, wow, look at this. So yeah, the bee wax, you want to let it sit for about, 25, 30 minutes. You can put another coat on. I'm not going to, because this just doesn't need it. And when I go over this now, it kind of still feels a little waxy, but all of it has been absorbed. And that's the great thing about bee wax. Then now the rest you can just wipe off. And now you actually want to use a microfiber. And after that, you can trash this microfiber, because bee wax, unlike other wood wax, will become crusty and it'll be unusable. So don't make the mistake of forgetting and accidentally smearing it on something else. So what I'm going to do now is literally just completely, with much pressure, kind of wipe off the excess. But I mean, just look at this. Look at that. That is just absolutely, it's just incredible.
All right, and then it's time to assemble this thing. Look at that flame that the beeswax exposed. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm lisping a little bit. I have my Invisalign in, so. But anyway, I wanted to show you this. What you do is you grab it here and turn it, and then just squeeze. And I'm literally now rubbing the excess beeswax right contra grain, which literally makes it sink in. I mean, I'm really forcing it into the wood now. I can literally feel how it's going in. And then you grab it here and just, so now I'm taking the excess, and rather than go like that, I'm going contra. And that just completely goes anti-grain and rubs it in, and there's your finished neck. This feels, I cannot tell you just how good this feels now compared to what it was. And then same here. And there you have it. And now we can put the neck. Actually, now we're going to put the hardware on and then put the neck on the body, getting towards the finish line. Okay, the hardware is back on. As you can see, I kind of polished a little bit, got rid of the EVH logos, tightened them up a little bit. Make sure these are really tight. Mine were loose when the guitar originally came, but just let me get up the light. Look how pretty that looks. I mean, just so pretty. And for the first time now, we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Again, much more things to do. Next time I restring it, I'll probably wax it some more. Then I'll actually install a real single coil there, which will instantly change the whole guitar, because I can actually put a really good single coil, that those modern ones that I have almost a humbucking tone, and then I'll route it, put a little switch in there so I can actually change it, switch between the two. The Marzia strap locks will come tomorrow, so we're getting to the finish line here, but let's assemble it. When you put these back, make sure you go diagonal. Let me show you what I mean by that. Go 2, 4, 1, 1, 3, okay? And don't tighten them fully. Do not go 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't do that. Go here, here. Tighten them about, see this still moves a little bit, about 85%. Then 85, 85, and then 100, 100, 100, 100. Very important, trust me. We discovered our first problem. This won't go in, look at that. It's going sideways, and luckily I didn't throw away the cheapy one. And sure enough, look at the dimensions. That's a full 2 millimeters. So be aware of that. The original Floyd comes pre-drilled differently. Now I could technically make another hole, but it is so close. Right there, let me sharpen this up for you. It is so close there that it actually probably would end up creating one big hole. So at this point I have no choice but to put the original back, because that's an incredible difference. Look at that. So be aware, we discovered our first challenge. Look at that, we're getting a little preview of what it's gonna look like. And I'm loving it. I just think it looks absolutely spectacular. Can't wait to string it up now. And again, more that can be done next time we take the strings off, but this is a great start. And looking really, really cool with the hardware on. And let's string it up. So we're getting real close to the end now. I just wanted to tell you a couple of things. If you do decide to get these upgrades and get a really gorgeous new Floyd Rose, these here need to be greased a little bit. Make sure you do that. They come tight and really heavy from the factory, and that's on purpose. Don't worry, you cannot break this thing. It's stainless steel. So, and make sure that you adjust your intonation, because that's it really. It happened to me years ago, because all of these intonation pegs are
flat out horizontal, and you'll put the strings on it and realize you actually have to intonate them. And what's so amazing, I'm now in A, and I actually have it dead center. Let me strum this up for you. And I can actually do thrills on it, so see? Which is awesome. I mean, this is what you want. So not that you can go really, you know, far back, but you could also technically set it up, it resting to the body. I just love having that little bit of a wiggle room there, so which is just cool, so you can get a natural vibrato. But otherwise, you can just go flush, even though it tilts back. The intonation is still perfect, and that way you have a dive bomb only. So there's one thing left that's arriving today, and that's the Marzia strap locks. And the reason, as you know, I usually go Dunlop, kind of like, you know, what I call the slash system. I really, really like that. It's very good. And all my belts are kind of pre-made for that. But the reason I went the Marzia strap with this is just because of how cool that black strap hanging over it looks. And I think on this guitar, it actually will look better. And it's black, and it'll really work with the fabric. It just kind of makes it more clunky, chunky kind of looking, which on this works really well. I finally locked it in and tuned it up, and it just absolutely, just strumming it just sounds amazing. Look at, this is not 24 hours later. Look how less raw that fretboard looks. Look how beautiful the polished and rounded frets look. The beeswax is now completely absorbed with the oil, working in tandem. Look at that neck. Look at that flame right there. That's exposed in the wood. And it'll only get better over time. Again, it's the sum of all these parts that added up. We got rid of all. That's another thing. When I restring it next time, we're going to change that plate too and solder that on. I'll make a little video about that. And I'll still going to order some Gotha minis, just because they're a little bit better quality than I think the ones I have on here. This plate I'm going to have to re-drill and then fill that with wood so that I can put the steel string retainer on. So still a few little things to go, but look at the original Floyd, the way it's dialed in now. And you can just tell when you strum the guitar. Again, we're not going to do a sound test. We already did that with the other Frankie in my review, but this is more about building. Look how beautiful and level it is. So now you can actually do thrills if you want, and you have probably a good full tone going back. So it's just, the intonation is now set up. It's absolutely perfect. I polished the body a little bit. So again, just if you're into this kind of Frankie look, just a nice way to personalize it. And as soon as the strap arrives, I'll put that on and we'll take a final little thing. But it's amazing what you can do by yourself to really enhance the guitar. And what seemed to be kind of lifeless, now when I play it, is actually a legitimately great sounding instrument that I can actually use live and play. But it needed some work, and they all do. That's just the truth of it. You know, you can also tell here when I sanded it down with the 400 and I put the beeswax and oil on it. Just look at that. The wood just breathes. And remember, these ship in a freaking card box, so it's just, yeah, we talked about that. So, but yeah, no, it's. Let me give you the overall look. It just looks really cool with that headstock. I just totally dig it. So let me know what you think, and let's wait till the straps arrive. In the meantime, we're gonna keep working on the intonation to get it even more perfect, but we're almost there. And I look forward to making the next video where I'm gonna also exchange. I'm gonna show you how to wire that in. We're actually gonna make that pickup usable. So very cool. I also wanted to show you again just that little flame that's exposed, and not so much because this is a very flamey neck. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to say. This isn't like, you know, an Ernie Ball roasted maple, but the reason is you can see what the oil and beeswax does and just the amount of dirt it got out.
And this is the dirt that's left over now in the neck that you want. This is the relic dirt. But the problem, or the great thing is, you see, we took off everything that was on top of that, and that's the dirt you don't want. And the same you just saw in the previous video on the fretboard, and I'm purposely putting it like this so you can see a little bit in the light. You see how light the board, I mean, it's not really light. It has that relic dirt in it, but look how much excess we got rid of. So now it looks cool. Now it really looks played. Again, if you're into that kind of thing, and obviously we're basing this on a relic canvas, but that we improved. But look at all the excess dirt. And yeah, you can't just wipe that off, because otherwise you're just rubbing it more in. What the oil and beeswax do is they go in there and just kind of like a little bit of a pimple principle. They push the what the wood doesn't want out. Now this here is going to be in there forever, and that's great. That's what we want. We want that relic look. But just look at the excess dirt that we were able to get rid of. And the point being, you can't just get rid of that by just simply cleaning it. You need exactly kind of that method we did. And in the process, you made the wood better, stronger, you nourished it. And all of that will translate into a longer lasting and better feeling neck. And this neck now feels a million times better than it was before. Before it just felt like unfinished. We kind of run out of budget. And now it feels like, okay, it went from Mexico to Corona and we actually made it a $2,000 guitar. Well, guys, there it is, finished. The lock arrived. The Marzia kind of makes them different now. Sadly, I was hoping it was still the one without the plastic hinge, but I still think it looks cool, kind of with the straps. And so again, to take it to the next level after here, we're gonna replace this dummy pickup with a real one. That will be in a couple of weeks. I'll make a video how to wire that in. Gonna oxidate this a little bit because it looks so new. And as you can tell now, how nice the fretboard looks with the rounded and polished frets. We did the headstock, which looks awesome. I mean, look at that. That's just freaking cool. And we exchanged the back plate. We rounded the frets. We oiled and beeswaxed the hell out of this, and just feels absolutely incredible. Got rid of all the logos. Put a steel plate on, stainless steel, rather than a hard aluminum one, and sanded everything, and just, it's stunning. I just plugged it in for about 15-20 minutes, and it just sounds absolute monster. But again, that's not what this video is about. It's about kind of how to improve the guitar, or any guitar. Hopefully you learned something from this, and we'll get we'll get a little bit more action in a few weeks when we take it to the next level. But now, let's go do with this thing what it was designed to do. And I tell you, it feels truly now that we took the guitar to the next level, like a $3,000 guitar. Just it needed what we did to it, but now it's what it should have been all along. So happy playing, stay safe out there. See you in a few weeks when we take this yet to another level.